Hey YouTube, Shanol Latimer here, and I'm on tour. And this video's quite impromptu. I'm just sitting here with not much to do, kind of chilling out. So I figured, I've had this question over the years many times, had it several times on this tour. And the question was, how do I book a tour for myself? I mean, I get the question from people in bands and also solo artists. Now, I have booked tours for myself when I had a band, and that was very economically challenging to do. So, solo artists, it's a whole a lot easier thing to do. I'm going to speak to that because I haven't done enough tours as a band leader to come up with a system like I have for booking myself. So, that said, I guess let me try to answer the question, and hopefully you'll excuse me because I'll probably cough several times. I'm getting over a cold that I got during a really nasty rainstorm in Louisiana, and so my voice is still hoarse. But anyway, all right, so let's answer the question, how do you book a tour as a solo artist? All right. Well, first of all, I'm a saxophonist, and I've been a professional musician since 1998. Although in the past few years, I've been more of a front-end web developer. Not so much because I don't want to do music anymore. It's really a physical thing. I have a bad back, and it's become more difficult for me to perform, stand on stage with a sax around my neck for a few hours, and all the traveling. I mean, this tour is killing me. My back is not good right now, but I needed the extra money, so we'll get to that later. So anyway, again, let's answer the question. All right, so how do you book the tour? Well, the first thing you need to do is figure out, what are you willing to do? In other words, don't go by the fantasies of, oh, I'm going to have a tour bus. Oh, I'm going to be in a hotel every night and, this and that. No, that's a fantasy. This is the reality. Okay, there's my sleeping bag. There's some of my clothes. I got my sax and other gear back in the trunk of the car. All right. And actually, under the sleeping bag, you can't really see them, but I have a case. I have a case of bottled water, of like 40 bottled waters from like Sam's Club. I'll get to that later if I can remember. Like I said, this is impromptu, but that's the reality. Is that I'm living out of my car, and this tour is a month long. It needed to be a month long, So anyway, so you got to figure out, what is it that you're willing to do? Are you willing to go without a bed or creature comforts for any amount of time? Because if you're a solo artist and you want to come home with some money, that's probably what you're going to be looking at. Because look, I could afford a hotel room every night of this tour. This tour is a month long, all right? Exactly 30 days, right? This tour is a month long. If I had a hotel room every night, even if I went cheap, I'd be looking at anywhere between $2,200 to $3,000 for the month in just hotel rooms. Now, I don't know about you, but I would rather come home with that $2,200 or $3,000. So I'm living in my car. Now, when I was younger and my back wasn't an issue, I would spend more time camping out because I enjoy the outdoors. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. Okay, so you got to figure out, what are you willing? What's the extent that you're willing to go? How uncomfortable are you willing to be? Without creature comforts. Blah blah blah. The second thing is. Excuse me. The second thing is, you got to understand what market it is that you're trying to reach. Now, A lot of us musicians, we like to think, oh, everybody likes our music, or everybody could like our music, or whatever it is we do. No. The fact of the matter is, there are genres for a reason. There are niches for a reason. Not everybody likes all music. You know, that's a very common that's a very common line of thinking I come across other musicians, especially ones that aren't very experienced. They tend to think that anybody can like what they do, and that's not the case. So you got to understand who it is that your audience is, and okay, once you have that, then it makes it easier to figure out where are they. All right, so you got to know who your audience is. You got to know where they are, because that's going to dictate where you're going to go. All right, now in my case, for what I'm doing, all right, I'm going through a few states. I've gone through Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, and then I'll be back home in Florida. I'm originally from New York, but I now live in Florida for the last few years. So anyway, you know, and so once I took a look at what cities or towns, because it's not all about cities. Smaller markets, you'd be surprised how much they can how much they can add to your income. All right, so once I figured out where I could go, all right, I basically went on Google Maps and I added up the mileage of all those places, that big loop. You know, what's the mileage that I would end up doing. All right, once I had that mileage, then I knew, okay, well, I have how far I got to go. This is going to allow me to figure out how much am I going to spend on fuel, because budgeting is the next step. So first step is figure out how far you're willing to go. Second step is figure out where you can go because of your market. The third step is to start figuring out your budget, and knowing the distance involved with everything will help towards that. So I forget the exact final. I have, by the way, I have all of this information on a spreadsheet for me, you know, so I don't have to remember all of this, but I believe that my total mileage was approaching 3,000 miles. So I added whatever the mileage was that I had, I added another 1,000 on top of that. And the reason is this: you're going to be doing more driving than just going straight to the gig and straight to the next gig and so on and so forth. All right? You're going to have to do things like laundry. You're going to have to eat. Something may come up. You might lose a cable. All right, well, just go to the nearest Sam Ash or Guitar Center. All right, well, the problem with that is maybe it's 40 miles away, like the case was for me. So, you know, you got to expect that you're going to have to drive more than just straight to gigs and stuff like that. So add more mileage, which means you're adding more fuel cost. All right, so the first thing I like to do is figure out how much am I going to spend on gas. Well, here's my formula. Basically, well, first of all, you got to know how many miles to the gallon your car gets, and then also what size is your fuel tank. This particular vehicle has a 15-gallon fuel tank, and on paper, it says I get 32 miles to the gallon highway. I cut that down to 25. Again, because I'd rather take the worst-case scenario and consider that I'll probably spend more than what I probably will have to. That way the money works out. All right. So after doing the math, you know, the appropriate math, I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but I do remember that my total for fuel was somewhere around $400, I think it was, for the month. I needed $400. So okay, so far I need a minimum of $400 for the tour. All right, that's to make sure I even get to where I'm going. Now I got to eat. Got to fuel yourself, right? All right. So what I do is I allow myself a $20 per day per diem. And I don't know about you, but $20 a day is plenty for me. And sometimes I don't even need that much. I typically eat 2 times a week, 2 times a day, not a week, not with a gut like this, but yeah, I eat 2 times a day, and usually when I'm on tour, I try to eat as healthy as possible. So I'll have like Chipotle or, something like that. So for $7, $8, $9, I can have a burrito bowl. That's pretty filling for me. And then maybe my second meal might be that again, or something similar, whatever. But $20 per day. All right. So if I'm out the whole month, in this case, it's exactly 30 days, $600. So $600 and $400 for fuel. I'm already at $1,000. I need at a minimum in order to, that I need to make from the gigs to break even. All right. Then you got to think of other stuff like, I mentioned laundry earlier. Well, that's a reality. You don't want to go to your gig stinking, do you? So you got to do laundry. I mean, me personally, I try to be as clean as possible. I probably go to the laundromat more often than I really need to, but I go about twice a week, about every 3-4 days. And I find that I spend about $15 per trip to the laundromat. All right, so that's like $120 for the month, or I like to raise it up to $150. You know why? Overestimating, laundromat, emergencies, what if you need to buy clothes? I had to. I mentioned getting stuck in a rainstorm. Yeah, I was in Louisiana. It rained like nobody's business. I had to get out of my car to get something, and it was horrible. I couldn't even see a foot in front of me. The rain was so thick. I was drenched. And, so I ended up buying more clothes, and I got sick. And anyway, so yeah, and I went to the doctor. So there's money. So, so you got to come up with a budget. All right. And that's really important, because once you have a budget for what you're going to need for the tour, all right, now you can figure out, okay, well, if I charge X amount of money per gig, I like, let's say you charge 100, 150, 500, whatever you charge. Now you have an idea of how many gigs you need to book to at least break even. Okay. And then, I always book extra because I want to come home with something, of course, but so now you can, you know how many gigs you can book. All right, you have a general route, so now you can look and you know what market you're trying to get, or what kinds of. Well, knowing the market will help you figure out what venues you're going to try to book yourself in. All right, so now you look on Google and you find out what venues that support your market are, within a reasonable distance from your main route. And I mean, those are the broad strokes. There's a whole lot more to booking a tour. There really is. I mean, I've been touring since about I did regional tours as early as 2002, 3, but I started touring nationally by I think about 2006 or 2. I don't remember, to be honest. I've been touring nationally for at least 12 years that I can think of. All right, probably a little bit longer than that. But the point is that once you know how much you're going to spend, that allows you to know how many gigs you're going to book, which finally will help you figure out how long you should go out. All right, and be realistic. All right. So, like, let's say you need to make $1,000 and you charge $100 per gig. All right, so you need 10 gigs. So, are you going to gig every day? Are you going to gig every other day? Leave a day for rest? And that's another. You have to get rest. You have to rest. I'll get on that in a second. But anyway, so now that allows you to kind of figure out how long you should be out. All right. Now I mentioned rest. This tour is 30 days, a month. All right. 4 weeks. Well, the first 2 weeks, I hit it hard. Probably part of the reason why I'm sick right now. And do plan on getting sick if you're on tour for any length of time. But my first 2 weeks, I hit it hard. I was gigging 2-3 times a day, 5 days a week for those 2 weeks. And then now I'm at the start of a week of nothing. I purposely did not book any gigs on this week so I could rest. Because I am not 30 anymore. I'm not even 40 anymore. And I am tired. I need rest. So I booked nothing, and I intend to do nothing. So that's basically it. I mean, in terms of, like I said, the broad strokes. There's a lot of other details. For example, you should be using a database. Preferably one that can send you reminders of certain things, like when to call somebody again or whatever. It's just this. That's just scratching the surface, and hopefully it will put you on the line of thinking that will yield you the results that you're looking for, because it's a business, and you got to treat it like that. So you have to think like that. That's all I got to say. All right, well, thanks for your time. Hope somebody gets something out of this. Feel free to ask questions. And I'm always happy to share whatever I know. So, catch you later.